That's a.
Not quite.
For the.
What page? Love your nails.
Thank you. Just don't look at my thumbs.
Well, you just showed me, yeah. What
Yeah.
happened to your thumbs?
It came off. I'm trying to do where I put chips on and then filled it with powder, but I had to fix it a couple times, so.
You
it's
do it
just-
yourself?
Yeah.
You don't, you won't go, do you go to
Okay.
a manicure?
Let's get started. Okay.
What page?
The last class in the book. What page? There's what the last class. 234.
No.
Yeah, no, got it. I thought you were like, before I wasn't putting it together. And I was like, what do you mean?
That's Sylvia.
No, but I wasn't even putting it together right now.
Okay, let's get started because it's late.
What?
He has those things. He puts.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. You know, it's before
Hello.
Pesach, especially.
Thank you for doing it.
Sorry, the big one.
Cell phone free.
I think it's Andrea. She was on
Oh,
before.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got lost.
Yeah, we lost your picture. I don't know, but anyway,
I got
page
lost.
234.
I'm pushing all these buttons.
Oh, I don't know. Just make sure you're in the Zoom app and then make sure your view, I don't know, show video or something. I don't know. I never use it from my phone, so I don't know. Anyway, okay. So who here is into self-improvement? Oh, Anna, she joined Zoom.
I'm not.
You're not. Okay, anyone here into self-improvement? You are? You're perfect.
I would think.
You think we all are?
Are you?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So self-improvement's like laundry. Whenever you think you're finally done, you found out you have more to do. Okay. So do you ever like kind of get excited about like, you know, doing something right, but either some like exercise regimen or diet or some other type of self-improvement meditation or something. And then you're like, oh my goodness, but it's, you know, it's a 30-day program, a 40-day, or I gotta do this for this many days. I don't know, maybe I can't do it. You do it for a few days and you kind of like get, what's the word? You lose your momentum, lazy.
Lose focus.
Yeah, things get hard. You go, oh, it's gonna get so hard if I bother, right?
Mhm.
So what does the Hasidus and Kabbalah say about self-improvement, and how are we going to connect it to Pesach? That is our class tonight. What? Joking around. Okay. Okay. So there's an interesting custom that Chabad has, and not just Chabad, on Passover, which we'll get to in a minute. But we're going to start off with the prohibition against eating chametz, right? On Pesach, everyone here is aware of that. I should think. Why look at me like, what is that? No, just kidding. Okay. So what is chametz? Any mixture of flour and water that sits for 18 minutes or more. So we are all super careful to remove any trace of chametz in our homes and cars and everywhere else. And people make themselves crazy, what they do to clean and to prepare themselves and to, you know, do everything for make sure they have no chametz in their home. But if you think about it, what is the most risky chametz item that we all have on Pesach? Matzah. Good, Lisa. I knew you would know. Why? Because matzah is flour and water, right? Now, it's very possible because they make the matzah, they mix it in so quickly, they make it right. It has to be from when the flour and water hit till the matzah is baked. It's 18 minutes. So now we see you, Andrea.
Here I am.
Yeah, we see you. Okay, great. So when it touches each other, right? It can't be less than 18 minutes, more than 18 minutes, and then until it's fully baked. Now, since they're doing it so quickly, it's very possible, let's say you might have some dry pieces of flour, you know, like when whoever's here is familiar with baking, like you could like, you know, I make a sourdough, sometimes I see in the dough, it looks like there's little lumps because there's like little pockets of flour that didn't get like mixed with the water. I mean, once it's baked, usually it's okay, but it's possible that like you could open, right? You could open up bread or a cookie and there might be a piece of dry, especially with this matzah. So if that flour would get wet, if it was dry flour and it got wet, it wasn't baked, and technically it could become a chametz concern. And that's why there's a custom called gebrachs, which, or non-gebrachs, which many communities are careful not to have gebrachs on Passover. And we'll explain what that is in text number 1. If it doesn't fully explain it there, I'll explain it after we read text number 1. And that is many people have this custom called not eating gebrachs. Okay, text 1.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
I have
No, one
read
second, let me just update it over here. Okay, go ahead.
I've read all that you have written in your letter. I enclose herewith a brief response regarding the issue of cooking crumbled matzah. The truth is, there is no outright prohibition against doing so. Nevertheless, one who acts stringently shall receive blessings. This is not a ridiculous stringency without any basis. Rather, there is a strong basis for observing this stringency, namely avoiding the possibility of transgressing the biblical prohibition against eating hummus. We can plainly observe that many times flour remains on the surface of some matzah, like what you said, even after they have been baked. This happens because the dough was tough and was not kneaded thoroughly. And this minute,
Minute.
this minute.
Can you have English?
Yeah.
It's all the same, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, and this minute amount of flour that is on matzah can become hummus. If the pieces of such a matzah are placed into soup, as many are accustomed to doing, one can inadvertently transgress a biblical prohibition.
Okay, so there's no problem with, explain it. There's no problem, there's no Torah law that says you cannot mix your already cooked matzah, your already baked matzah with whatever it is, soup, cream cheese, I don't know what. Okay, or make some kind of cake out of matzah. But there is a stringency. There is a stringency that certain communities, including Chabad, hold, and that is we do not get our matzah wet at all. We don't mix the matzah with any food, just in case there is some possibility of dry flour that wasn't baked, that wasn't mixed with the water and baked. And then if we would get that wet somehow in our eating and our food preparing process, that would that could possibly make something hummus. Yes.
I have a question. I'm sure you would know.
Okay.
Since it's really, when I say only Hasidic communities that do this, did this start with Baal Shem Tov?
I think it started before. Let me just double check if I
Because
can.
even like the most,
Here it brings it down. The Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, is explaining it.
but I know it's Hasidic communities.
Right.
Like the most religious
Of the Litvish.
community.
Well, right, no problem.
So-
100%.
I'm wondering if that maybe that's where it started.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know. I could try to find out. I also wondered when I started.
So then.
So we don't have matzah balls. We don't have matzah brie. Not just that, but I can tell you when she comes to our house on Pesach and we'll hold what we're going to get into now is it's not the last day, but somewhere in the middle, we don't even let you eat. Like we'll serve everyone say, everyone eat your matzah in a bag off the table, and then we could have as much as you want. When you're done, remember that we'll serve the rest of the food. We don't want the matzah to fall onto the table and get mixed with the other foods on the table. Okay. Even the whole sandwich, we're very careful to make sure that the lettuce is dry. Like my husband will sit and like dry it all out before he puts on a sandwich. But even that. So no, it's not horseradish. We don't. Oh no, it isn't. It's just the maror. The actual horseradish itself is just grated, dry horseradish. It's not like the prepared horseradish. No. The harosh, we put a drop. So what we do, we put a drop onto we dip our lettuce and then we shake it up. So we're so very, very, very. No matzah latkes. No matzah cake. No. Yeah, even like I said, even like some like cream cheese and matzah, I don't know, whatever, avocado and matzah. I don't. So that is a stringency of a stringency, because technically gebrach doesn't even mean something like foods that are not actual liquid, like not water. But even that will be careful about, even if it's not a liquid, not even water. So it's just a stringency and a stringency, okay? On the matzah, no. So again, it's totally okay for all those communities that eat all these things. As Lisa said, the most religious of certain communities eat all these, the matzah brai and the matzah balls, all that kind of stuff. It's totally okay. It's just different customs and different stringencies. And there's certain things that they may do or not do that we would, whatever. Okay. So even like my husband will he'll be careful and look before he takes a cup to drink, he'll check it to make sure there's no matzah crumbs inside. Or he'll take a fork, he'll make just anything. He's like super, yeah, okay. So here, some people will throw anything that hit that or put away, anything that fell on the floor over pizza. Where since we're dealing with, or because it could, or anything on the floor that came in from outside. So because like we work at Chabad and we're serving so many people and so whatever, we should be, we're not as whatever about that, but yes, many homes do that. Yes. And my husband will. Right. Right. Really, we should be just as strong. Okay. So in Hebrew, it's called matzah sharuya. I'm not sure exactly what sharuya means, but it says because of the concern of loose flour from the matzah coming into contact with water and becoming chametz, many communities avoid getting matzah when on Passover. And it's known as gebrach. It's a Yiddish word, which I don't know. Gebrach means, even sharuya means broken. So I don't know why. Hi, Andrea, we see you. Okay, so now the Rebbe, text number 2, describes different things, how careful they are. Text number 2. So you want to do it?
Therefore, the matzah on the table are covered at all times so that water does not spill onto them. Before we pour water or any other liquid that is mixed with water into a cup or bowl, we inspect this cup or bowl to ensure that there are no crumbs of matzah in it. When we wash our hands during and after the meal, we do not pass our wet hands over our lips.
Do you know at the end of the meal when the men wash their fingers? Usually they go like this too.
Yeah.
And on Passover they don't, just in case. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So again, if you've been eating our house, you know what it's like.
Yes.
And everything like that. Okay. But the big but over here.
The big butt.
Day 8 is totally different. Okay. So sometimes I just try to invite people on day 8 because I don't want to have to put them through everything. So on day 8, we are lenient. And let's read text number 3. This is also from the Alter Rebbe, from the first Chabad Rebbe. Lisa, read it.
Nevertheless, one who is lenient on the final day of holiday for the sake of rejoicing on the holiday has nothing to do. So
on the last day of Pesach.
Now he's referring to not in Israel.
Right. So that's also interesting that in Israel they can't even do this.
Well, because
they only have 7 days. Exactly.
So that's why it's a rabbinic on a rabbinic. There's no biblical prohibition on this.
Right. So the last day of Pesach, the 8th day of Pesach, we go to the opposite extreme. We specifically mix the matzah with everything we eat, with every liquid. Okay. So it's not just that it's okay to do or it's lenient, you're allowed to, but they came with a specific custom to do that. And let's read text number 4. This is from the previous Chabad Rebbe, the 6th Chabad Rebbe. Okay, because you had a short one.
My saintly father, Rabbi was particular to specifically eat matzah shura on until Pesach. The entire Passover, he was particular to not eat matzah together with any type of food. But on until Pesach, he would do so deliberately, exhibiting this custom in public. He would eat matzah with the fish, with the soup, and with the meat.
Okay, so the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, says, hey, it's okay, you could be lenient on the 8th day, but here the 6th Chabad Rebbe is writing about his father, who's the 5th Chabad Rebbe. Sorry to get you all confused. The Rebbe Rashav, Rebbe Shalom Dov Ber, he would make sure to eat it with everything. So what is going on here? What is this idea of not just being lenient, but like making sure to do it? Okay. Yeah. And like usually Hasidim are known not for like looking for loopholes or looking for leniencies, looking for how to like get out of things. If for example, a Chabad, or let's say we're really careful to try to wear a sheitel anytime we go out of the house, not just like wearing some other type of hair covering, like a scarf or something, because we want to be extra careful. Or like, let's say for like I don't know, different times when it's super, super difficult for men to do like the custom, like there's a custom for men to go to the mikveh every morning. They'll, even if it's difficult or hard, they're going to find a way to do it. Like we won't go on vacation if my husband doesn't have a place where he can do his mikveh in the morning. And like for example, I don't know, like they're really, 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 really careful about every little thing. So why were they, okay, you don't have to, and that's just custom. You don't have to do it. So why is it all of a sudden we're like doing it, like going overboard? Oh, we don't have to do it. No, we're specifically doing it all the other way. What is this all about? Okay, so to understand this, we're gonna try to learn about it, and we're also gonna, in a more mystical sense, and we're also gonna explain how or why the last day of Pesach is connected to the times of Mashiach, the redemption, and connect it all to, as I said at the beginning, self-improvement. Okay. So we're going to go through this more spiritual explanations of all of this. Okay. So, hi, Anna. Okay. So what we could take an example of, let's say, a very interesting, another situation.
Hi, sorry, I'm here.
No worries.
You're not really here. You're not here. You're here.
Maybe she might be here, but she's not all there.
Yeah,
That's good.
I don't
That's
think
Thanks. Yeah, that's it.
That's kidding. Okay. So we could take it from the Sukkot time when we take the lulav and the 4 kinds. So we learn something very interesting. Okay. It says we need to take dense leaved myrtle. What does dense leaved myrtles mean? 5. Let's go 5. Eileen, are you able to read?
Sure.
The myrtle is one of the 4. So there's the willow and then there's the myrtle. Okay. Go for it. Eileen.
Okay, here we go. A dense-leaved branch is valid for the mitzvah, and one that is not dense leaved is invalid. What is the definition of a dense leaf? Rav Yehuda says it is a branch that has 3 leaves emerging from the same stem. Rav Kahana says even if only 2 leaves emerge from one stem and a third leaf emerges from another stem just below those 2, it is valid. Rav Acha, son of Rava, will deliberately seek a myrtle branch with the 2 one-leaf configuration, since Rabbi Kahana ruled that it is valid. Why are we talking about myrtle leaf for Pesach?
No, we're talking about this. So this is take an example from Sukkot. So when you take your lulav and estrog and your willow and your myrtle, so one of the myrtle represents the tzaddik, the righteous person. So
Right.
we try to like add in that. They should be dense. It should be like a nice thick leaf branches. And like there's some people who even like add in branches. So you're supposed to get myrtles that have like 3 leaves together, like, but this Rabbi Kahana said, even if it doesn't have 3 leaves right together, it's okay. Now later in the Talmud, it actually calls this type of branch, if you find 2 leaves and 1 leaf a little bit lower, they call it a crazed myrtle. Even that's okay.
And it's like you were saying before, strange, because like what you said, it's like, does it have to be Glock kosher to be kosher?
Right.
No, and
right.
you don't go with this is acceptable, but this is what the goal is. You don't go, great,
Right.
we'll do what's
Right. Exactly.
volunteer,
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
I'm going for this.
Right. So why is Rabbi Acha saying, I'm going for the minimum requirement? He wants to show, hey, I want to show that what my father's ruling is okay. He's saying this is okay. This is also okay. So I'm going to make sure to do that so people should know that it's okay that I'm following my father's ruling. And that's why he did it. But in our case, our Alter Rebbe says, okay, it's okay to be lenient about eating the gebrachs, the wet matzah on the last day of Pesach. So why is there a praise to do this? Are we trying to show that what Alter Rebbe is saying is like, we don't want to bring that to the fullest, like this Rabbi Acha, or just something else to it? And guess what? There's something else to it. Okay, it's more of a spiritual lesson that we're going to take from it. Okay, so what is Pesach all about? Everyone knows the answer. Basic one word. Redemption, Exodus, right? We're leaving Egypt, we're getting out, okay? What about the last day? What are we celebrating on the last day of Pesach? The future redemption. Okay, so let us read text number 6. Anna, are you up to reading? Are you? If not,
Yes.
oh, okay. So
Yes.
text number 6.
The first day of Passover is our holiday commemorating how God liberated us from Egypt. That was the first redemption, and it was carried out by Moses, the first redeemer. That was the beginning. The final day of Passover is our holiday celebrating the future redemption, when God will send Mashiach to liberate us from our current and final exile. Mashiach will be the final redeemer. The first day of Passover is Moses' day of celebration. The final day of Passover is Mashiach's day of celebration.
Okay, so we're celebrating the coming of Mashiach on the last day of Pesach. Now, we see this in the Haftorah. The Haftorah that is read on the last day of Passover is from Yeshaya, Isaiah, who prophesies a lot about the days of Mashiach. That is text number 7, and we'll go back. Batya, you up to reading? Okay.
1, and a shoot shall spring forth from the stem of Jesse, and a twig shall sprout from his brood.
Okay, just for a second. Jesse is Yishai, the father of King David. So it's just like saying us, you know, a line will come from him, eventually will be Mashiach. Yeah.
2, and the spirit of Hashem shall rest upon him, a spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and heroism, a spirit of knowledge and fear of Hashem. 3, and he shall be animated for the fear of Hashem, and neither with the sight of his eyes shall he judge, nor with the hearing of his ears shall he chastise. 4, and he shall judge the poor justly, and he shall chastise the equity, the humble of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall put the wicked to death. 5, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faith the girdle of his loins.
Okay, so this is all talking about Mashiach.
Yeah.
About Mashiach
And
who
we're
will
one now.
come and save the Jewish people. Okay.
He's going to.
So
Yeah,
one
that's
of
true.
the things we do to commemorate Mashiach on the last day of Pesach is, again, custom of Hasidim in general, is something called the Baal Shem Tov's Seuda, or AKA also known as Mashiach Seuda. So the meal of the Baal Shem Tov, or the meal of Mashiach. And let us read text number 8, what that is all about. Sylvia.
It was the custom of the Baal Shem Tov to partake of 3 meals on the last day of Passover. The last of these he called Mashiach Seuda, the festive meal of Mashiach. For on the last day of Passover, the radiance of Mashiach is openly revealed.
Okay, so what will be different when Mashiach comes as opposed to when the Jews left Egypt? Okay, think of how the Jews left Egypt, and is it going to be like that when Mashiach comes, or is it going to be different? So that it's different. Sylvia says different. We need him now. I think he's coming. He's coming. So when the Jews left Egypt, it says they left in great haste, right? They didn't have time to bake their matzah. Correct? They just ran out of there. They didn't want to get stuck behind. It was the iron curtain open, and they said, "Let's get out." Right? It was as if they were in a dark place. Someone opened a door, and they ran out. Okay. But and from a spiritual perspective, Egypt was a place of unholiness. Okay, right? We said it was the most unholy place in the world. We did not want to be sunk into that. We had to take the Egypt out of the Jew, not just the Jews had to get out of Egypt. So we were running from the immorality, the unholiness. We did not want to get stuck. How will it be when Mashiach comes? How are we going to leave? What? I mean, text number 9, Lisa.
For not with haste shall you go forth, and not in a flurry of flight shall you go. God goes before you, and your rear guard is the God of Israel.
Okay, so we're going to leave calmly, not in haste. That's what it says, not in a
In a
flurry.
single file line.
We may have an easier life, a cushier life, right? Okay, obviously a lot of crazy things going on now, and I guess we don't feel, we need Mashiach, we just want to get out of here. But we not be physically suffering, right? But the unholiness also seems to be pretty bad, right? In exile, probably maybe worse. Is it worse than it was in Egypt? Hard to know because they're not there. But why does it say then that we're going to leave calmly and not in great haste? And that is because when Mashiach comes, it's not just that we have to get to Israel, we have to get out of Egypt, right? Because Egypt is a bad place, but the whole world will change. The whole world will become a holy place. It'll all transform. So it's not like we have to get out of here or we're going to be stuck in this unholiness. Wherever we are in the world will all become a holy place. It'll all be transformed. So we're not running from evil to be holy, but all of it will become holy and spiritual. Text.
It is, but it's the opposite way.
But once
It's
Mashiach
not-
comes, it's
it's
total
not
transformation.
Yeah. Probably ridiculously-
Right now, because Mashiach's not here yet.
Yeah.
But when,
Okay.
right, remember we talk all the time in classes that like what we're doing is we're like revealing more of godliness, transforming the world. And so when and that's what Mashiach coming means, that we'll be able to see the godliness. There won't be any evil, there won't be any darkness, because everywhere in the world will be light. And then they had to get out of Egypt, and Israel was the holy place. Okay, the Torah was the first stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so-
Here, if you want to see for a visual. Yeah. From Egypt, we ran from the evil of Egypt and meshed in our identities. Future redemption, we won't run. The world will already be transformed into a holy place.
I see Mashiach starting all over, to be honest.
Will be a whole.
Because it's just we live in such a corrupt world. I would say 30%
What?
will be left.
No, so it will be a new beginning in a way, but it's a culmination of all our work, all the years. So yeah. Okay, anyway. Yeah, text number. Second.
Sorry.
1 second. Did I miss text? No, okay, 1 second. I have to go back. Okay, text number 10. 241. Text number 10. Eileen, are you readable?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, here we go. And it shall come to pass on that day, says the Lord of hosts, I will cut off the names of the idols from the earth, and they shall no longer be mentioned. Also the false prophets and the spirit of impurity I will remove from the earth.
Okay, so it'll all be gone. Only the good will remain. False prophets.
Yeah.
They're all kind of false
Christians?
prophets.
Is
There could
this-
have even been Jewish false prophets too, but yeah, and Christians and anyone who leads people astray in some way or another. Okay, you could probably say that Jay was a prophet. Okay, so
Yeah,
the
for sure.
difference. Okay, so the difference reflected in the first day of Pesach and the last day of Pesach. The first day of Pesach, right? We have is like we're celebrating the leaving of Egypt. So the chametz of the first day of Pesach is super evil. It's very leavened, right? It's the full air rising. It's the swelling of the ego. We're commemorating our flight from the depravity of Egypt, and we're going to Hashem, like we're going to Hashem with this outstretched arm, and we're becoming a new nation. And that is what we're remembering. The first day of Egypt, we want to stay as far away from the chametz, as far away from the evil as possible. And so on Pesach, we need to eradicate all the chametz, all the ego, all the evil. Okay, now let me show you this. Okay. So that means that those of us who have the custom, no matzah balls, the risk is too great. We don't want to accidentally mix any of our liquid with any of the matzah. But on the last day of Pesach, we already are in Mashiach mode. We already, we're still in exile, we're still in Galus. What? Someone's coming in? Hmm?
Oh, right there, delivery guy.
I do.
I think he was probably delivering.
Okay, you scared me. Okay. Okay,
You're like, you're son.
no, he's here, but it's too early for him to come home. Okay. So, but on the last day of Pesach, so we're already in the Mashiach mode. We're still in exile. We're still in the Galus. We can't have actual chametz, but there's no risk. We're not worried about getting it wrong. We're not worried about getting stuck in the exile. We're not worried about getting stuck back in Egypt. We know that everything's being transformed. So we can have the gebras. We can have the food, the matzah that's mixed with the wet food, because it wasn't. We don't think it's going to be so bad. Here, I'm going to show you. We can stay in exile. We don't have to rush out, and it will not have an evil effect on us. So the Passover, first day of Passover, we eradicate the chametz completely. We don't want to even have a chance of maybe possibly, point whatever percent, of anything becoming chametz. Last day of Passover, chametz is transformed to holiness because it is the time of.
It's not really a comment.
Right. But it's just like this idea of it's like the exigency idea. Exactly. Okay. So back to the Haftorah. This is how it continues. It tells us more about all the good things, how the transformation takes place, how there'll be no more evil. How will there be no more evil? Text number 11. Anna, want to do it?
Yep.
Thanks.
And a wolf shall live with the lamb, and a leopard shall lie with a kid, and a calf and a lion cub and a fatling shall lie together, and a small child shall lead them. I don't know why I find that so funny. Sorry. And a cow and a bear shall graze together. Their children shall lie, and a lion like cattle shall eat straw. And an infant shall play over the hole of an old snake, and over the eyeball of an adder. A weaned child shall stretch forth his hand.
Okay, so look, all the wild animals or all the things that usually are killing each other and hurting each other, all living peacefully. Why? Because there's no evil inclination. There's no evil. It's eradicated. And there's only good. And lions will be what's it called? Yeah, they'll be I'll say neutral. Yeah, they'll be able to eat from what? No.
No, I thought we would be better.
No, it even says that even the pig, because it won't be impure anymore, will technically be able to eat pig. If you want to. So there won't be, these things won't have unholiness in them, so they won't be forbidden. I'm not saying that you would.
Would anything be forbidden? Like Shabbat? Do you still have to keep Shabbat?
That's a good question. No, everything will all be like Shabbat. So yeah, it's a lot of good questions. Okay,
We'll find out.
we'll find that exactly. Okay, so everything will be transformed. There won't be desire. There won't be any instinct to hurt or anything. So we still, obviously it's the 8th day of still Pesach, we can't actually eat any chametz, but we don't have to be stringent on the matzah getting wet. So every bite of wet matzah that we eat on the last day reminds us of Mashiach. So we want to be like, kind of reminded of that and kind of connected to that as much as possible. And that's why we take the extra effort to eat everything with every matzah with something, with the food. So how do we attain this in a spiritual sense? Let's see, what does that mean? Let's go on to, okay, one second. So the Torah, in the Torah, right, we learn about the Exodus. It tells us all about the physical hardships the Jews had as slaves in Egypt, right? Or their life in Egypt was very full of slavery. But it doesn't really tell so much about the spiritual self, the soul. Because the soul was also enslaved, as we mentioned before. It was very unholy and very bad in Egypt. It was so bad that, let's read text number 12. I'm back to Batya.
Well, when the Jews were in Egypt, they became sullied and corrupted by all forms of impurity, to the point that they were under the influence of 49 powers of impurity.
So after living in Egypt with the people there, they were like so badly affected in a spiritual sense that there wasn't just their bodies that were slaves, their souls in a way were slaves and affected so badly that they were in the 49th level of impurity. This is like the bottom level before they go to sink to bottom. So they have to be ready 50 days later for getting the Torah at Sinai. So what, they have to go on an express self-improvement plan. 50, I'm looking for 50 women in Santa Monica that want to join us and change their body before the summer. So so Hashem's saying, hey, all of you people, you gotta change your soul within the next 50 days, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. I love that. I love those advertisements. Yeah. Okay. So they all had to go on this like Shape Up Betterment program. They need to have this radical transformation, and they had to refine themselves really quickly. And that's where this whole idea of Sfirat Omer, the counting of the Omer, the days from the second day of Pesach till Shavuos, it's not just about counting days till Shavuos, we're actually doing self-improvement. And let us read. Oh, hey, Andrea, you didn't read yet. Text number 12.
This
13,
is
sorry, 13. Whatever we're up to.
This is what we begin counting on the first day of Passover. We count the days as well as the weeks, for it is mitzvah to count both days and weeks. For each day, we exist one power of impurity and replace it with the power of purity.
Okay, so it's a short time period, but there's so much mystical knowledge in these. Like everyone always asks, what are these 7 attributes? What's all this about? I want to know more about myself. I want to know more about I know we learned about it a little bit in our class last year. If you remember, we learned about when we went to the Tanya, we were learning about the different like attributes of the soul and stuff like that. There's so much about it, and we know so little about it. But we'll just do a little not even basic rundown, but there are 7 character traits, or 7 attributes, and they are the basis of each soul. Now, when they get entrenched or lost in like the animal soul, they get used for the wrong reasons, they get distorted and misused. That's when they need to be kind of the 50 days self-help program. Okay, so for example, and that's what we go through during this fair. We should go through all the year, but especially during this free week, we want to use all those things just for our soul. So for example, the first attribute is called chesed, kindness, love. So it could be used for altruistic purposes. Love your fellow Jew, give tzedakah, right? Help others, do good things. Or you can love yourself, you can spend money on yourself, you can love the food you eat, you can overeat, you can do all these things, it's, because you're loving yourself, in an unhealthy way, and the love could be misused. That's just one little example. The 7 attributes, just briefly, is chesed, kindness or love, gvura, severity or discipline, tiferes, compassion or empathy, netzach, which is boldness or ambition, determination, hod, I just want to see if it has it here, which is devotion or humility. It's not in the books. Yesod, which is connection, and malchus, which is nobility or implementation. So each of these have a brief definition, but each of these, during the Omer, each one is paired with the other. So for the first week, let's say, you have the attribute of kindness, and you have first kindness within kindness. Want to do that later, Batya? Kind of distracted.
I'm so distracted right now.
And then you have discipline within kindness, and then the beauty within kindness, and you go through each of the attributes, and it's kind of like a times table. You can kind of match each up with each other, and it's 7 times 7 goes to 49, and then the 50th day you're ready for the getting of the Torah. Okay, so by the end of week 1, you completed all the aspects of the chesed attribute, of the kindness attribute. So we just left Egypt. We're at the bottom of the barrel in a way, with our as far as our soul, as far as our attributes and our character. We kind of slid all the way down, and now the Jewish people had to slowly, step by step, go up. And they were going from the ego, from the self inflated self-importance and everything, and they had all that chametz, and they had to get rid of it, okay, within themselves. And that is what the process of the sphere is, and that is what the process of Passover. We try to clean up everything get rid of everything, all the chametz before Passover, and the spiritual journey of Pesach. We're kind of purging our soul from our ego, from anything not good, and we want to make sure we don't like, sometimes the first day of like a diet or a regimen, you're like, it's like the hardest, like the soup, it's like the super, super, super careful, no sugar, no carb, no this, no that, right? Or do this, do this, do that. Like you have to be super, super, super careful. And then slowly, as you start to train and you learn and you get a little bit better, you can slowly introduce certain things back into your life, right? So the same thing here. You have the first 7 days of Pesach, and the first day you're so careful, you get rid of all the chametz, and by the end of the end of the week of Pesach, the 8th day is actually like is the next, kind of the beginning of the next week. You already went through all, like a little bit of all the attributes. You went through the whole the chesed with all the little bit of all the attributes, and you eradicate enough of that chametz within you that on the 8th day it's okay to have the gebrachs, the wet matzah, without being worried that you're going to fall back into into your bad habits, let's say, quote unquote, into back home. And what's so interesting is that on Shavuos, which is when Sfiras Omer ends, right? When we got the Torah, we had the highest and the most eradicated from chametz. What does it say that we bring in the Beis HaMikdash? Text number 14. Yes, back to that. You're right, Sylvia.
14.
Yeah.
From your dwelling places you shall bring bread for waving, 2 loaves made from 2 ronium. They shall be a fine flour, and they shall be baked leavened, the first offering to God.
To actually make leavened bread on Shavuos. That's measurements, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You actually make bread, which is leaven, which is chametz, on Shavuos. So it said, hey, what's going on over here? We should be eradicated of all the chametz. Let's read what text 15 says. What does this all mean?
It is explicitly stated in the Torah that they should bring leavened bread. How were they prepared? One would bring yeast from another place and place it into the Asarin measure. He would then fill that measure with fine flour and let it leaven with that yeast.
Okay, so why end this whole self-refinement process with the bread? Because just like there is bad chametz at the lower end of the spectrum, there's also good chametz. So sometimes it's good to have some type of pride or some type of ego. And when is that? Okay, so not all ego is bad. We have to be proud Jews, like you were just saying at the beginning of the class, right? You go around your work and none of the other employees are Jewish, but you are Jewish and you're proud of it. So so for that, one of the kings of the tribe of Yehuda, Yehoshaphat, says it's very good to be proud of being a Jew. Text number 16.
Yes.
Second. Okay, Andrea, you want to read it?
Yes.
Andrea?
The heart was proud in the ways of the Lord.
Okay, and it's very important to have pride in your Jewishness and in doing mitzvahs. Let's read number 17. Eileen, are you okay to read? If not, we'll go on to Anna.
Anybody?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, you're there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The truth is that although one must be exceedingly humble, nevertheless, a person should have some resolve, if even a bit of pride. For if one would not have any pride, they would never engage in service of God, for they would always belittle themselves, thinking, who am I? What is my service worth? Therefore, one needs to have some pride.
Okay, so there we go. We don't have to be egotistical and narcissistic kind of way, but you need to know your worth. We need to focus on getting rid of the chametz, but once we are refined, then we can show our true pride. Oh my God, I said something wrong. In our connection to Hashem. So on the last day of Pesach, we already made a week of progress. We already touched all the attributes, and we don't have to be scared or terrified that we are going to turn into chametz again. And we are confident enough to be able to have that wet matzah without a worry. So on the last day of Pesach, we are required to use the matzah with our foods. So again, when it comes to holiness and spirituality, we do whatever we can do and stand up to it and not kind of hide in situations where, like, you might say, hey, don't want to show your Judaism. No, the opposite. Show that you're about to do a mitzvah. Show that you're about to be Jewish and stand up for Israel, whatever it is. And again, so the eating of the matzah balls and all that stuff in the last day of Pesach was showing a true love for Hashem, not just for the matzah ball. So when we want to work on something on ourselves, and we're like, oh my gosh, should I bother doing this? Or like, I'm okay, I'll work on this, but I'll exercise, but I'm still eating like a, terribly, right? Or I'm doing this, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Every step makes a difference, and every step affects everything, the rest of you. Yeah. So even if you say, oh, maybe it's not worth it, or maybe I'm going to get lazy, maybe this, right? Every little act in the right way is an improvement. And if you work to improve one part of you, the other will improve. And what's the end of the story is there was a chassid, and whenever someone would come and ask him for a donation for charity, he would, go into his pocket, pull out, a coin in those days, and then he'd say, wait a minute, and then he'd pull out his pocket again and pull out another coin. Someone said, why do you always do that? Like, why don't you just pull out 2 coins to begin with? Why do you give one and then say, oh, wait a minute, and give another? And he said, because every act of charity is a victory over a selfish nature. And I want to so if I do one act, so that's one thing, but if I do it twice, that's kind of like double whammy against my Yetzer Hara. I just want to end off that tonight in New York was actually a very big celebration. Because a few weeks ago, they concluded the Rambam learning cycle. So they made a huge event in New York. A lot of things going on. Probably can see it online somewhere. And the Rebbe's birthday is this Friday. And that's also a very special day to do something. In his merit. And he kind of mitzvah, especially with giving something to somebody else, like getting someone else to do a mitzvah, get someone else to light the Shabbos candles, making someone, invite someone else to the Seder, or, anything, remind someone that it's Passover, and anything that's going to be mitzvah related, especially to somebody else. So Shir, let's end